pledge. Thank you. Shall we stand? Ms. James, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you be kind enough to call the roll? Mr. Gagnon or whoever's calling.
Edward Canudi. Here. Renee James.
Here.
David Wiggum. Michelle Bruce.
Here.
Frederick McCoy.
Here.
Ari Davis.
Here.
Carol Thomas.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Good afternoon, Jeff Gagnon, Planning Administrator. At this time, we do not have any additions or deletions to the agenda.
Thank you. You all have received your minutes, comments, observations, additions, deletions.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
just a couple of kind of housekeeping. And on page 1, you just clarify the last sentence, really get their hands around the head word there. And I think Mr. Stein's comment, he failed in there to mention fee simple to rental units and increased density. On the next to last page, I think what we were talking about, just to clarify, we were talking about the donation boxes. It's not clear. The unapproved donation boxes.
Which page is that, Mr. Canute?
Next to the last. Just I think it was one of the comments that wasn't clear what we were talking about. Prohibiting these boxes in the city. It's really the unapproved donation boxes.
If I may, Madam Chair, I'm not 100% sure as to the location that is referring to, but also we have all the meeting recordings are online now, so...
Could you speak louder?
Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
All of the meeting recordings are online now to help clarify any potential discrepancies in the meeting minutes. So, it really, as these are clarifying specific things like the aid discussion tonight, I think is important. However, moving forward, we would like to use this as not a verbatim account of the meetings themselves, but to have this as a reference tool and then also have the actual recording online as well, so members or any entities could reference that as well.
But these are the official minutes, not what's online, right?
That's right, but what staff will do, these are pretty comprehensive minutes in general, so staff in the future is just going to be doing summaries, similar, I guess due to a lack of staff time available and lack of resources, it takes a lot of staff time to do minutes in this manner. Basically, as long as the meeting is, it's roughly that much meeting time, as much staff time to retype the meeting minutes themselves. So just in the future, we're probably going to be reducing the extent of these meeting minutes just as precursors, so no one's surprised when that actually does happen.
But the content will reflect the outcome.
any motions made will always be reflected in the meeting minutes themselves, but sometimes these meeting minutes go on for 7, 8 pages, so it becomes difficult for staff to make sure that, in some cases, missing one word really changes the meaning of a sentence, so we don't want to continuously revise meeting minutes because of that.
Mr. Canuti?
Well, I think, I think it's, in the interest of accuracy, okay, but adding a word or two makes some sense.
Right, I don't disagree with that, but I guess I just wanted to say that moving forward, we'll probably have more truncated meeting minutes in general.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes with the changes that were noted.
Comments? Ms. James, did you have a comment? Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Or discussion, rather? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Edward Kennedy?
Yes.
Point of order with what you've just done.
I know, I'm
Would you
sorry.
like a roll call, or would you like to have it done the way you did it? Well, I would assume you'd want it the way you just done it, so you do not want a roll call.
No, roll call is fine. I had conducted a meeting, usually the other meeting I conduct that I usually...
No, I
take
agree
a-
100%, and the way you did it is 1,000 times faster and much
No.
better. And so I think that... is-
No, I'd rather have the roll call.
Edward Kennedy?
Yes.
Renee James?
Yes.
Michelle Bruce?
Yes.
Cedric McCoy?
Yes.
Ari Davis?
Yes.
Anyone voting?
Thank you. Presentations?
Yes, we have the opportunity tonight to have Scott Evans, the planning director of the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency for the city, here with us. He has, I'll call it a semi-brief presentation, specifically geared towards the Marina District South and the Marina itself. I'd like to introduce Scott Evans at this time.
Mr. Evans, before you begin, I think it would be advantageous to all of us if we could be invited to your meetings. This is the most important project in the city of Riviera Beach and its future. And I know there's an advisory meeting. Are they called advisory directors meetings? Is that what they are?
We have a couple of boards. One is the Executive Directors Advisory Committee.
Would that be the most appropriate committee for us to be invited to?
You mean as far as following along with the development and progress of the plan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. We anticipate taking it to them first to get their feedback before we go.
Okay, so would you be kind enough to invite all of us to those meetings?
I certainly can extend that invitation.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Scott Evans, and I'm Planning and Development Director for the CRA. And I'd like to thank you for having me here tonight. I just wanted to as you know, we have the Marina project coming up. It is one of the most critical projects that the city's had in a long time. And it's going to be coming before you for review in the new year. So I wanted to come in and give you an update on the progress, let you know a little bit about the other initiatives that the CRA is proceeding with, just to give you some background on how we got to where we are right now and how we're hoping to proceed. If we could start, this really started when we had a redevelopment plan from 2001, and it was really based on moving US 1 and a lot of things that required eminent domain. It was really not a feasible plan. So in October of 2007, we had a charrette, the most successful charrette that Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council has ever had. And we had over 350 residents come and participate, over 200 in one day alone, and then another 100 over a week-long open workshop, where we talked about the various direction for the city and where we wanted to go with redevelopment. That resulted in the creation of the Citizens Master Plan. which was a guiding document to help us define how we would redo the CRA plan. The CRA plan is similar to your comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan guides everything that the city does. Our CRA plan has to comply with the comprehensive plan, but it guides what my agency does and everything that we're supposed to do. So the Citizens Master Plan was adopted in February of 2008, and that served as the guiding document for the redoing of the CRA plan. And that plan was just recently adopted in June of 2011. And that plan included the new vision that was developed by the residents through a variety of public meetings. Transformation is really what we're focused on, and it's creating a new look, a new vision for the entire CRA. And one of the opportunities that we have in doing this is to redo Broadway. Florida Department of Transportation, working with the Department of Community Development and with the CRA, is redoing the entire roadway. And what you're looking at right here is a visual that was created. This is showing the new median that's going to be going along the roadway. It's going to add some significant beauty to the roadway. Of course, you see the new sidewalks there. This project will also include some decorative streetlights, a banner program. So we're very excited about transforming Broadway. I mean, when visitors pass through our city, the first thing they do is they come down the major corridors. So we're really focused on improving those corridors. One of the things we implemented was a grant incentive program. We had over 24 properties that we provided a grant to enhance their facade. And a couple of critical ones along the Broadway corridor. This is the Boathouse Marine. They received a CRA grant to improve, and this is their new facility. It's a major improvement, and this is along the Broadway corridor. Another project that recently was completed, this was the existing facility. This was bought by Cito, and there's their new facility. And they added a lot of landscape and decorative fencing, and they redid their building. This was also part of redoing the interior of the buildings too. So really helping make these buildings usable. This is a graphic. This is showing the corridor from a bird's eye view. Now the FDOT is redoing the roadway all the way from 12th Street north to Silver Beach Road. And that includes, as I said, new medians, decorative landscaping. This is another shot. This is of the median. You can see on the right-hand side the new decorative lighting that will go in. That's the acorn lighting that the city has featured in all of its projects. The new median is shown here. And we took advantage of this opportunity while FDOT has torn up the road, as you've seen. It's now underway, to launch into another project, which is the burying of the overhead utilities in the corridor. Now this includes Florida Power and Light. They're the primary. They own all of the facilities, but it also includes a variety of other utility providers. So part of that project, we have to bury AT&T, Fiber Light, Level 3, a lot of different cable companies, Comcast. So all of them will get buried underneath the roadway. And this is really going to help make a dramatic difference. This is a picture, and I'll just bring your attention to the overhead lines that you see there. And as they go away in this picture, you can see it starts to make a really major difference on the way that the roadway looks. Now, the underground portion of the project, this is going to cost $2 million, and we're currently in design on it. It's proceeding very well, and FDOT has agreed to allow our contractor to go in and work during the roadway construction. So when it's finished, the lines will be buried and the road will be brand new. Here's another view. This is actually phase 2. This is north of Blue Heron. You see all of the overhead wires from this picture, and the after on this one is quite what a dramatic difference it makes. There we go. So as we improve that roadway, we're really looking to just really kick off the transformation of this road by completing that. The facade improvements that I showed earlier, that program we will bring back as soon as this road is completed. So then we'll be targeting the other properties along the Broadway corridor and improving the facades of those also. The underground project, of course, will need to put some installations in along the roadway. These are some of the boxes that we'll put in, but it will, of course, surround them with landscaping and beautify it as much as possible. This is the Riviera Beach Heights neighborhood plan. This is something else the CRA is very excited about. We're spending over $3 million on this plan. The first elements that we're proceeding with is a new community garden that you're going to be hearing about. We recently won an award for the plan to proceed with that community garden. And so that will be coming in January as we proceed with that. And this just shows some of the graphics. In the neighborhood, one of the things we're going to do is improve a lot of the intersections with new landscaping. There'll be brand new sidewalks. We're already repainting homes. We have a repainting program that meets once a month. We invite you to come out and participate. That project has been proceeding. And that just shows the transformation of this is Avenue I. So this corridor will actually go under construction this summer. And that's the before, and that's the after. So we're really trying to make some significant improvements in this neighborhood. And that's combined with the new park. The new park will be built right adjacent to the community garden, and then that will also we'll be able to put some new facilities to operate out of for the garden. This brings me to the Marina District redevelopment project. This is a critical project that we're focused on. The CRA has allocated $20 million, which we borrowed from our lending partner BB&T for this project. The diagram on the left shows the Marine District project area. It's basically from 16th Street in the north to 11th Street in the south. And then it just includes a little bit of the property on the west side of Broadway, which is already owned by Viking, who is our master developer. And it's centered around redevelopment of the city's marina. Now this project is already underway in that the city is already redoing the docks. This is a $10 million project. The first phase is scheduled to be finished in January of this year, and the second phase in December of 2013. That will replace 75% of all of the docks you see in that picture with brand new floating docks. They'll include downlighting, brand new seawall, and it's the first stage of the redevelopment of this area. The second stage will be redoing all of the upland. And we propose to break ground on the upland portion of the Marine District in the first quarter of 2014. Just to give you a little bit of history on the Marina project, in 2010, the city issued an RFP for development of the marina. We were looking for a private partner to come in and assist us in redevelopment. Viking developers made the proposal and they won the RFP there. But unfortunately, almost immediately after they won, came the financial system meltdown. This combined with reduced property values that happened nationwide really reduced Viking's ability to provide financing for the plan that they had submitted. And we were left with no partner for the redevelopment of the property. The city decided to proceed with our own redevelopment. So in 2011, we developed some plans to redo Newcomb Hall, to redo the entrance to the facility, and to try and create a new park combined with possibly a potential new parking garage. As we developed that plan, Viking again became energized about the ability of the CRA and the city to actually do something. And they got together with another development partner called Live, Work, Learn, Play. And they came to the city and asked that we would hold off before we developed the site to allow them to come in and propose some private development opportunities to further enhance it. They wanted to create an entertainment destination that would be for both private and public developments at the marina. And they developed this document called the Strategic Assessment as a guiding development outline for how we would proceed in the future. And I'll just touch on a few points here. The document really looked to focus on the marina as a regional destination. Number one in this is Peanut Island. They really wanted to focus on this opportunity and integrate the future marina operations with Peanut Island. They wanted to take advantage of the new marina. That's number two. One of the focuses that we've been working on under the development of this new plan is the dive operations that exist there. And we want to really focus on that and provide future opportunities so that the marina can expand those operations and really become an attraction point for diving and the fishing industry also. Number three on that's the civic neighborhood. And they just referred to we want to redo Newcomb Hall, redo Bicentennial Park, and integrate those facilities into a larger entertainment destination, which would be combined with number four, which is redoing the Tiki Bar and all of the waterfront promenade along the front of the marina. They also identified the southern part of the marina as a possible phase 2 redevelopment. They highlighted that a potential hotel could go here and possibly additional parking facilities. Number 7, this is a future development opportunity. It could either be a public market, which is an indoor permanent facility that would have outdoor elements, but that would be open year-round. And we could also provide some parking for this development, number 7. And then they just highlighted, of course, number 6, which is the Broadway corridor and our ongoing efforts to improve that. And all of that can work together to really start to change the nature of this area. The city, upon completion of that strategic plan, formed a joint work team to develop the new plan for the marina, and that consists of Viking developers, their consultant firm Live, Work, Learn, Play, a design consultant called Elkis Manfredi Architects, who are nationally renowned out of Boston, as well as the city and the CRA staff. The new plan really needs to create a marina and a restaurant-anchored mixed-use waterfront regional entertainment destination. That's a mouthful. But we really want to create a place where the local community wants to come. At the same time, a destination for tourism and for the larger region. So we see expanding on the great success of the Tiki that's currently there, creating some new restaurants, some new retail, and really leveraging what already is a destination and really trying to expand on it. So the current schedule. The joint work team is currently developing the new master plan. It's due to be completed by the end of December. The joint work team will then schedule it for a public workshop, which we've targeted for the end of January. At the same time, we are we're rather going through contract negotiation with the architect who will represent the city, take this plan from the conceptual phase to the site plan phase, which you're used to seeing that level of detail. So when it comes before you in either at the end of January or in early February, it will be a concept plan. We'll have some renderings, some drawings, some visuals to show how it will look and what components it will feature. But then following that, it will go to City Council for approval. And then assuming that that the community's happy with it, then we'll do the detailed site plan, like that's your second item today, I believe. And that's really the details, the benches, the landscaping, how everything looks. So that process will begin after the project's approved in February. And we're looking to bring that back before you sometime in June or July of 2013 for final approval. We really see the redevelopment of the marina. It needs to be a catalyst for continued redevelopment of the entire CRA. We've borrowed $20 million for construction of this particular component. And we think if we can make something really special here, that will lead to future development of the other surrounding properties. someday we would like to realize some residential at this site as we get more people down there and more eyes on the park and just a more vibrant place. We're hopeful that future condo developments will come down, and that would be like a second or third phase of the project. Some of the other things and future projects that we have, we're working on a new plan to promote redevelopment on Singer Island, possible parking garage, working with the city to help continue the development of the Ocean Mall site. We've just approved a new camera system that we'll be installing CRA-wide, and that's going to really interface with the city's police department and help increase security in the area. Also, we're going to create a new public safety volunteer program. This is just to put more eyes on the street, more volunteers, people with radios. They'll be directly linked to the police, and to try and create more safety and change the perception of a lot of the CRA. Rebuilding of Avenue E. This is another project that we've provided $5 million in funding for. Along the Avenue E corridor within the CRA, we'll redo the sidewalks, add decorative lighting, rebuild the roadway, provide a bike lane. So we're really excited about that project. It's been delayed, but starting in 2014, we'll be working on the designs for that. Also, we're doing a Broadway corridor study. This is part of identifying the future properties that we'll work on as soon as US 1 is finished. And that's part of our Properties of Distinction program, where we're going to bring back more grants to try and help redevelop those properties. And of course, once we have the successful completion of the first phase of the marina, then it will be time for the second phase. That's just a very brief outline of what we're working on and the marina project and how we got to it today. I've probably taken more time than I should have, and I'm here to answer any of your questions. But if you desire to further explore how you can evaluate the plan when it comes up, I would propose, I'd be happy to come back in January to do a presentation on some of the fundamental planning principles that go into evaluating a waterfront destination. There's some really great planning resources out there that are focused on how do you transform waterfronts and create vibrant destinations. And there's just some basic principles. So if you're interested, I don't think that the plan will make it before you until February, but I would be willing to come back in January and go over some of those principles, which you could then use to evaluate the plan when it comes to you.
I think we need to be as educated as possible. And is that agreeable with everyone? Yes. Questions?
Yeah. We had talked about a workshop here on the marina. Possibly that would be the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
Point of order. Were there comment cards on that item?
Yes, but we're not finished. We have public comments, yes.
Yeah,
Do they come before our questions?
Going into the board comments and questions.
I'm sorry, what?
I thought you skipped into board comments and questions. I apologize.
Oh, no, I did. I'm sorry. I thought that our questions came first. Excuse me. Don't go anyplace because we have questions. Mr. Ward, with regard to the marina? Sorry, Mr. Ward, it wasn't intentional.
Well, that's okay. I would have loved to hear your comments because I could have commented on them also. Maybe sometime we flip this. Gerald Ward, 31 West 20th Street. You obviously heard Scott say the city is redoing the docks. That city plan has never come to you, and there's 3 people basically running that show down there. If you get down there, the bulkhead was substantially complete in July of 2011 by the first contract to spend $1 million. The project is supposed to be complete. The county has given them an absolute deadline for the $10 million, the $5 million, the $50 million bond issue money of the 31st of December, that it has to be certified as complete and operational. But most people who frequent the place think that's a joke. The structures that are being installed are certainly not going to be as long-lived as what has put in 1982. You just raised the beginning of an issue which I think is most important. Last night, the CRA discussed having your workshop on the 30th of January. And fortunately, a couple of the commissioners said, we need to get it televised because not only is it important for the Planning and Zoning Board, but it's important for the citizens as a whole. So I think that was pretty well ordered last night. Sometimes orders that do not get motion second adoption by a majority don't happen in this town. And I'll address one of those later on tonight. The negotiations were authorized last night for the architect, which the number one ranked is Song & Associates, which is the same architect that has other contracts with the city and CRA for various facilities. So they would then, as Mr. Evans talked about, produce a set of plans that would be hopefully somewhat similar to the city's code so that you could tear them apart and provide a better product. You need to take a look at the water, in the water site plan, which is being constructed, because it produces a waterside facility that is almost unmanageable from the user standpoint in terms of people wanting to go there. The marina, if it's supposed to be a $20 million upland and $10 million waterside facility, needs some planning. This board needs to continue its involvement.
Mr. Ward, I have a question. What, you said that there are some plans that we should be seeing with regard to the marina, with regard to the bulkheads, or what? Is what's being replaced
the plans
now?
of what's being put in the waterside has to relate to the uplands. And Mr. Evans didn't go into the fact that the CRA wants to take over the operation and control of the marina, take over the personnel that actually work there. And there may be a third-party vendor that would come in to operate in conjunction with the CRA staff at the marina. But in order to make this a functional place, it has to have public involvement. And you heard him say that you have a joint work group, the JWT, I think they call it. That doesn't have any public involvement to speak of. They come and present things and then think that the citizens of Riviera Beach would adopt them. That isn't how this city has worked for 90 years. We have usually filled this room with people who are intently involved. And so this board can facilitate that. What my closing comment was, you need to be involved, and that will ultimately facilitate the public getting what they want.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Anyone have any questions, Mr. Ward? Okay. Ms. Mahoney?
Laura Mahoney, 2120 Broadway. I'm kind of confused. I think I read something in Orange County, 2011. The county gave $20 million for the marina. Now, Mr. Evans says something about $20 million that we have a bond, collateral, of course, from all the taxpayers in the city for $20 million. So you are talking about $40 million. The other thing is talking about the master developer who was chosen in 2005, and he did not deliver. It's already 12 years, and I think it's about time to change. Because if somebody received $20 million and they're going to do the money from taxpayers, all of these that they're talking about, so we don't need him really at all. The other thing is about the Bicentennial Park. I went over there the last Saturday. It's closed. They reserve it, they place the trees and everything, but nobody can go into the place. Everything is in construction. I think the people need to know, really, what is going on with the marina. Because now I'm finding out with the pictures about Bicentennial Park having some docks close to the place. I think that we're not supposed to have anything to be free space so people can use it. I would like to know if we're going to have some places where people who have boats here in the city are going to be able to accommodate their boats in the time for hurricane season or rental like any other marina. I see when I went there the last Saturday, they have floating docks for 30 to 50 feet vessels. So there is some questions, and I don't have no answers. They only show, they presented, and this is not even happening right now. It is happening since the time I came to these meetings in 1999. So there is no explanation. And I believe the citizens, as well the people who pay taxes, needs to know what is going on. Everything is presentation. I cannot make to all these meetings. I have too many questions, and I'm assuming that a lot of the people that they're in their houses right now, they don't know that they have these meetings because it's not having enough signs all over the place saying this is an important issue that you need to listen from them, not from presentations of different people that we don't know. So if we need to have a workshop, I think it needs to be in Newcomb Hall and show the people what is going on with the plan here. Right now, we need more time, and you have many questions as we do. So hopefully you're going to have a big meeting and tell everybody what is going on in the marina. Thank you.
Mr. Evans, can you address any of her comments?
Yes, the county provided a grant for $5 million towards the $10 million of waterside improvements, the docks, the new seawall. And then the CRA borrowed actually $25 million to do redevelopment. And approximately 18.5 of that is slated for infrastructure at the marina and to create all of the things that I just described, along with some additional money that we hope to get in grants and some infrastructure money from the city. So it comes to about $20 million, the upland portion. But the county portion is only $5 million. We do hope to do a large public workshop. Last night at the CRA meeting, they did request one. And today at our extensive staff meetings, that the city and the CRA had a meeting this morning, and we did decide to have a large workshop with the public that would be televised. And that would be in advance of coming to planning and zoning. So that's just to announce it. We will invite all of the boards, including the planning and zoning board, all of the public, have a large workshop where we present the new plan as it's developed to the community so they can understand what it looks like, what is happening, and then they'll have time, of course, to prepare comments, concerns, issues, so that when it comes before you, they can come and present and participate, and hopefully we can work together to improve the plan and make it better at that time.
Are you planning more than one public workshop?
We'll have the one workshop followed by planning and zoning board hearings. Once you've completed your review of the plan, then it will go before the CRA board. That will be another public meeting, and then finally it'll go to the city council for approval. So at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 more public meetings before it's finally approved, and that's just the master plan. Of course, then we'll take that's just an overall conceptual plan to guide the development, and then we'll go ahead and start the detailed plans for Newcomb Hall, parking garage, a new marina office, and that, of course, will go through public workshops, planning and zoning board, city council approval also. So there's 2 whole series of meetings that are scheduled yet before we can break ground. So there'll be lots of opportunity for the public to come.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Evans? Ms. James? No. Mr. Canudi?
One question. Mr. Ward said something about we needed to get certified by the county before the 31st as far as the water side.
As a condition of the grant from the county, we need to complete the first phase by December 31st.
In your initial comments, you said that the first phase will be completed in January.
Right. So
how do you
we have the official ceremony to cut the ribbon and celebrate the completion of the first phase. That's scheduled in January.
Okay,
But
but
they'll
it will be
actually-
done, it'll actually be done in December.
Yes, there'll be technical inspections before the end of December to ensure that we meet the grant.
Okay. One thing in a city manager memo updating the construction on June 18th this year, said that there was some sort of a objection from the property, I guess a property line objection from the property to the south.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I'm not sure. I'm not aware of any serious problem with the
You're
project.
saying the permit for Dock F has been obtained from USAC, however, the DEP permit is held up waiting a pending letter of no objection from the property owner to the south.
Okay, so that's, you were referring to Cracker Boy Boat Works.
Yeah.
And there was some issue of whether the property line was 2 feet to the north, I think, or 2 feet to the south. So I know that the holdup was just deciding where that property line was under the water.
Okay, so it's not an issue.
No.
Question on the workshop. I didn't understand. We had talked about having a marina workshop here at Planning and Zoning. Are you talking about that same workshop, or are you talking about the CRA running a workshop and that we're invited to?
The first step, where the CRA is going to run a workshop, actually it'll be a joint workshop, the city and the CRA, where we'll invite all of the boards. It won't be at a planning and zoning board meeting. It's your choice. At a different time, possibly at Newcomb Hall or here in the council chambers. They had talked about televising it, so I expect it would probably have to be in the chambers. And then that would be the first unveiling of the plan. When it first comes back to P&Z, that you could have a workshop also to review it before you make your recommendation on a follow-up meeting.
No other questions?
Mr. McCoy?
Yes, you talked about the overhead burials of the utility lines. I think you gave what was the estimated cost for that?
For the portion between 11th Street and Blue Heron Boulevard, it's $2 million.
11th and Blue Heron.
And then Phase 2, which wouldn't be until after 2016, that would approximately be another $2 million.
And I'm curious, the utility companies aren't taking part in absorbing some of these costs?
No, they're not required to, since it's the city's desire to bury the utilities, and they have the right to stay. They actually have been helpful because they could actually make it problematic because they have certain rights to have the aerial lines. So they've been very positive. To them, it's an advantage because they reduce their exposure to windstorms, which is a major positive for them. So they've been agreeable and helpful, but by law, the CRA needs to pay to bury the lines.
That's right.
Ms. Brooks? I have a question. With regard to improving Broadway, the improved version you have here, is this actually, well, it's being worked on now, but this is how you perceive it to look with all the, if it's 5 palm trees, it's 5 palm trees, right?
Yes, it's exactly
Okay.
how we perceive it. Now, the trees are shown as mature, and some of the palms will be very close to that.
Okay.
Installed, but
All
some
right.
of the shade trees will take time to grow to that level.
Of course. With the transforming of Broadway and the incentive grant program, is there any consistency with regard to signage and color and style?
We have a code that suggests that you can't use bright colors in Broadway, but it doesn't really coordinate all of the redevelopment of the properties in Broadway to have one theme. We are embarking, we've hired Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council to take the step to study all of the properties along the Broadway corridor. Now that's going to start in January. And the outcome of that could be to develop a color scheme, a sign scheme that would sort of coordinate some of the properties. There's only so far you can go in legislating that. Obviously, a lot of property owners want to do their own, but as far as what we can do under the law, we will try to get them coordinated as a part of that study.
You know, it might be nice, and I don't know who maybe discussed this with Mr. Gagnon, since this is such a huge, important project to the city of Riviera Beach, for these special districts, have some sort of a an architectural review plan or something so that there's some continuity and it won't be so inconsistency, so it won't be jumbled up and it looks like a plan, beautiful.
And we will be proposing new zoning regulations for the entire CRA as the last step in implementing the new plan. And that the Department of Community Development, Mr. Gagnon, have been critical in helping move those regulations along, and they're going to come back before the Planning and Zoning Board, and they include some extensive architectural requirements that look at all buildings that will be located along Broadway and describe certain regulations. You won't be able to just have a blank wall anymore. You'll actually have to provide windows and various facade improvements to try and influence how the redevelopment takes place. So you will get to see those regulations probably sometime the second quarter of 2013.
And landscaping, are you going to include landscaping in that type of?
The city's existing landscape code is quite good. That will continue to apply.
Ms. Brooks?
I'm sorry, just one question. My question was, will we be able to make all the buildings conform? Because if we have one or two landlords or owners that just hold out and don't want to do anything. My other concern was, will we have grant money for the owners to upgrade their properties and to conform? Because that may make a big difference too. It may be that they want to, but they can't afford to.
And we did get great success in response when we offered the grant program. We did it in 2 rounds. In the first round, we were able to fund most of the applicants who applied, and then when people realized and started to see the improvements going in, they got very excited about it. So our second round, we were only to approve, we got twice the applicants as money.
Right.
And a lot of those projects went forward. So we'll bring that back in 2015, which is when we'll have funding available.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. It's very exciting. Thank you, Mr. Evans. We have one more a late public comment card from Carol Strick.
Good evening. I'm a little confused.
Could you state your name and your address, please?
My name is Carol Strick, and my address is 3516 Whitehall Drive. I'm a member of the Riviera Beach Task Force. I'm a little concerned about these plans that you're going ahead with, because the last court action seemed to be what Judge Fine had found the cogent points of the task force to be valid, and that the City Council had broken the Sunshine Law, that the second referendum was illegal, and the second referendum had been nurtured by the City Council illegally. That was the last we heard. There are all kinds of papers in the court that the lawyer had withdrawn the petition recently, last month, for Emma. Emma's been gone a year. So at this point, it seems to me that the petition from the task force is still something to reckon with before you go ahead with all these plans. So I guess I'd like someone to comment on it, or
I think if that's accurate, then it's a very good point, and probably you should call the city attorney. Well, we have the city attorney sitting here. Ms. Stubbs, comment?
I'm the assistant city attorney.
Excuse me.
And I believe the information that's being sought is without or outside the purview of this meeting. I don't have all the facts, and if it's ongoing litigation, we definitely will serve attorney-client privilege. So there's nothing that I can speak on that point.
that's okay. I really wanted you to be aware that 5,000 citizens of Riviera Beach signed this petition, that they did not want this turned into a large boatyard. They didn't want repairs. They didn't want the pollution. And they have to be considered. In passing, I'll just mention Chris Hedges' new book, Days of Destruction, Days of Revolt, when he talks about sacrifice zones. And in particular, he mentions Immokalee. But it does sound a bit like Riviera Beach, where all kinds of pollutants are floating around from businesses that couldn't go anyplace else because nobody else would let them have, such as the boatyard here. They couldn't do it in West Palm, so they're doing it in Riviera Beach. What about all of us We're surrounded by FP&L, the garbage, and now this monstrous marina. It's not going to be good for any of our health, and I think this has got to be considered as an environmental hazard that it very well may be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Strick. Any other comments from anyone? All right, let's move on. To our- I guess we've already had our board comments.
Good evening, Brad Stein, Principal Planner of the City. This is a continuation from the last meeting for the Mediterranean PUD amendment. The applicant for BTI developers is here, and Brian Chekas with Cutler and Heron, who is working with them, is here, and I'll let him introduce the rest of his team. And they're going to go ahead and present tonight.
Members of the board, for the record, Brian Chekas from Cutler and Heron. Really don't hope not have to take up much of your time. I'm going to give you a number of updates. So from the last meeting, because you have a number of concerns, we went back and looked at those concerns to provide you additional information this evening. So I'll be as brief as possible in sort of answering some of those questions that we were able to do last month. Again, Mr. Beck Daniels is here from BTI Partners, Senior Asset Manager. Mr. Noah Breakstone, one of the principals, was supposed to be here. He may not have been able to make it. From our firm, myself, Senior Land Planner, and Mr. Donaldson Hearings here, with extensive experience in these kinds of developments throughout Florida. And last week we had our traffic engineer here, Kimberly Horn, who's worked through all of the traffic issues. Again, just to remind everyone, and who may not have been here last month, we're looking for a modification to this PUD to allow for luxury apartments to be developed here. We do have fee simple townhouses, some are on the ground, some are already platted, but the ability to introduce luxury apartments would provide for a much better design to bring this property sort of out of stagnation and to market. We currently have 968 units approved on the site. That's 14.2 or 3 units per acre. This request takes that up to the maximum 15 units per acre, 15 dwelling units per acre, which is for a total of 1,038 units. Just a real quick run through with respect to what's approved and what's being achieved by way of the modifications. We're almost 69.5 acres in size. We are modestly upping the amount of units because of the efficiencies that get built into the plan, and I'm going to walk you through that. The existing recreation areas on the full development total about 1.67 acres. After we reorganized and reprogrammed the PUD to allow for apartment-style development, we have that 1.67 acres plus an additional 4 acres of open preserve area that could be used for passive amenities for the residents. And the lakes went from about 8.5 acres to 10.5 acres. So a lot of efficiencies built into the design because of this request to modify and allow for apartments to be built. You asked us who BTI Partners were, and Mr. Daniels spoke to that briefly. They are a very large residential real estate landowner and developer and asset management firm. They have over 65,000 acres, 6,500 acres of land throughout Florida, 13,000 residential units online or entitled, and have over 2 million square feet of commercial and retail development within their portfolio. They have expertise from single-family, multifamily, and mixed-use and commercial developments. They've been in the market for 25 years, and they can bring that expertise and their relationships with all the big home builders in the South Florida market to the city and specifically to this property. Their integrated way of managing and working with assets to bring them to market is what is their advantage, and this is the seasoned developer and or asset manager that you want at the helm of a project such as this. Here's just some examples of the projects that they are working on today, ranging from Miami, Tamiami. Just a side note, the Tamiami one, they're working closely with Bernard Homes on that one, or through Orlando, Sarasota, and Tampa. So they're across the state, and they're very much in South Bay. Here's our project, bordered in red. We all know the site. It's bounded on the west side by Military Trail, the east side by Interstate 95. To our north is a range of residential and commercial units, developing Mystic Woods, Villa Palms, Palm Beach Golf Cart on Military Trail. To our west is Woodbine Commons and the Woodbine communities. And to our south is the Palm Beach County mobile home park known as Palm Lake Co-op. You asked us to have an understanding of what the original plan looked like. So to make it as fair as possible, I was able to now get that plan working. This is what the original plan looked like, the townhouse concept. As you can see, I'll walk you through it. There's no discernible hierarchy of roads or driveways. Everything acts as a driveway, as units front on all of the roadways, and kind of a spider web of driveways and turnarounds. The units are spread across the entire development to reach their density, and that's the townhouse product that kind of creates that. Everything's basically lake, building, and driveway. And there's a mix of unit typologies with respect to traditional walk-ups to larger condo-style buildings with common parking areas. So this is what's approved on the books today. The intent was to modify that plan and to organize it much more efficiently, create that hierarchy in the main loop road that we talked about last time, which makes it to any individual pod, which is created individually or developed individually. Takes you around any major points of intersection. Two large pods, for example, C and D, may have a turn circle in the roadway to manage their private entries into their communities and then through the community. Because of the efficiencies that come out of the design of the apartment layout, we're able to take back 4 acres of land throughout the development, highlighted in green here, and those become those natural preserve lands. And as well, 2 extra acres of lake are additionally recaptured and resculpted into this plan. This was the concept site plan that we showed you last week. Again, I walked you through this very briefly to help everyone understand that as you come into the community, this northwest corner is currently developed with 98 townhouses. As you come through the community, you arrive at various pods, A and B, for example, with a specific number of units, specific acreage associated with it. You sort of know the size of any given pod or development. For example, C and D, as we just approached, 142 units and 160 units are what they would be entitled for. Any special features like land bridges or, again, turning circles developed as communities develop and whatever their specific access needs are. Taking it around, again, all pods assigned. The orange section in the bottom of the screen and the one that's coming on the screen now are common area amenity spaces that stay on the plan and are accessible from anyone in the community. Every pod has its own amenities area, potentially a green area or a pool or some kind of amenities building. You asked us what the architecture would look like, and we don't have any formal architecture, but what we've developed is the typology in which these buildings were based on. 2 3-story style apartment buildings. This image, for example, is a 3-story building, a condition where it was a front side condition with 2 buildings. If you were looking across the lakes to, I believe, it's pod I, with respect to the landscaping and the massing of the buildings. This one is sort of accentuated with respect to two buildings facing one another. In this instance, you're looking into Pod F, sort of center part of Pod F, and as you can see, two buildings that face onto a green. That green would potentially be developed for the use as an amenity space, obviously circulation in and around it. And to kind of hone in on some of the architecture, again, your staff would be looking at levels of fenestration, details, articulation in roof lines, columns, shutters, all the architectural elements that would be required or standard on a luxury apartment complex. And then lastly, looking back at Pod C, some of these natural areas developed with pathways and as an amenity with these buildings backing onto to newly recaptured green area as an added bonus. Small micro amenity buildings and pool areas for some pods, and if there's certain area within them that's going to be captured to be able to do their own private areas, possibly with bathrooms, outdoor cooking area or lanai and pool for their own residents. So with that, we have two conditions of approval that staff have proposed. We're in agreement with those conditions of approval. Asking for your approval this evening, a recommendation to the City Council, City Commission, so we can take this matter before them and have it successfully brought to completion. Thank you.
Questions?
I have one. Yes, Madam Chair. Do you currently have this project on your website?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and it's listed as West Palm Beach?
Probably for the area in general. Your question asked last time was, is this a Riviera Beach project? It's address Riviera Beach. It's in the Riviera Beach zip code. For their understanding, on a more of a, I'm assuming on a larger, grander scale, West Palm Beach is probably a little more recognized outside of, for people looking at Florida.
It's West Palm Beach postal address. I'm guessing it's listed as Palm Beach.
Ms. James, would you like to speak to that? Was
I'm
that your
sorry,
question?
I'm sorry. So your answer is?
I thought we solved this last month. With,
I'm sorry, I wasn't here last month. I apologize.
I'm sorry, someone asked. I'm sorry, a board member asked that question. With respect, will it be recognized as a Riviera Beach project? And staff and the conclusion that it was Riviera Beach postal code, so it will be known as Riviera Beach project. So I think the website may have it incorrect in labeled as West Palm Beach.
No, it says Palm Beach County. I'll pull it up.
They're going to find out it's Palm Beach County. I think it may be.
It says Palm Beach County, Florida.
Palm Beach County.
West Palm Beach in your
No, it says
Palm Beach
strips.
County.
I'm looking at it.
It says 5 miles from West Palm Beach, but it's ease of
Location.
access to West Palm Beach. Located in Palm Beach
Yeah,
County,
Palm Beach
Florida.
County, Florida, I guess, is the specifics.
No further comments.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy?
Yes, actually, the comments that I had were, I think, directed. At least I want to at least give staff an opportunity to respond to this, and I think we brought up some things the last time regarding the triggers. And I wanted to know that, well, what I'm trying to say is at least those triggers that we brought up last month that I guess you guys monitor, the planning department monitors, at what point is there a percentage change in the actual, I guess, the PUD that would trigger something like a new site development plan?
Good evening, Brad Stein, personal planner of the city. There's not necessarily a percentage or anything that could be. A change of use would be a trigger. A change of the amount of units, if they were to make a greater change of units, something like that, or attempt to do that, that would trigger it. If the use is really consistent with what was approved, and a minor amendment would only be required, and it would be at a staff level. If it was a large amendment where they wanted to completely change the use from residential use to some kind of commercial use or something like that, that would absolutely trigger it. But in retrospect, with it being a residential development going to, and they only want to make minor changes to a residential development, then there's really no trigger for that other than, like I was saying, if it has a large amount of units trying to be changed or something like that, would only be triggered to come back to this. Otherwise, it would strictly be an amendment.
Okay, now, okay, thank you, Brad. Now, generally speaking, I think the developer might be able to speak to this question, but at least at what point, and this is something that I was thinking about, the existing residents that are already in the Mediterranean community, at what point are they informed about this? Because what happened is, for instance, if you have, and I think what happened, a similar incident happened right over in Congress in the Marsh Harbor community, because I can recall that the residents came to these council meetings almost every time they came up. They rented those places, actually they purchased those homes with the expectation that they were going to be townhomes. And the market didn't support it at that time. And what happened, a lot of those property owners turned around and in turn leased those properties to, and a lot of time they were Section 8 tenants. And that kind of really caused a huge problem. So at what point are these residents put on notice that this is something that the developer, this Mediterranean community is actually proposing to do? At what point are they put on notice? Or are they not altogether? I mean, it's just they bought in, so they're stuck.
Let me respond to that if I could. For the record, Donald was hearing representing BTI. And I think that there's two kind of major points that were in your point of discussion. First of all, we have made contact with the existing residents. The majority, there's a good block of those townhomes right now that, just as you spoke of, a good block of those townhomes now have actually been purchased by an investor and were put out to a rental pool. Whoever they get rented to, there is no management company that are renting, that are responsible for either maintaining or managing how that particular parcel is basically being occupied. And as you know, that leads to a lot of havoc, and it's some of the problems that you've seen in some of the communities here in Riviera Beach, because there's no way to manage who's being rented to. The contrast here is that, of course, we are working with the existing owners of the facility, as well as that one bulk owner who owns the majority of those condominiums or townhomes that are in there today. But in the future, these will be managed by a professional management company, and we have already committed. In fact, we have discussed the project with each of the commissioners here in the city, and we've specifically committed that there will not be any Section 8 housing here. This will have, of course, be open to a broad cross-section of homeowners or renters, but we've committed not to do any Section 8 housing within the new portion of the community. We don't control any of the townhomes that have already been sold or leased.
And that's my question. How many of those that were actually existing now were purchased by this private investor?
About 50%. About 50%. So about 50% of those have been built, which is about 35 units.
They own about 50, and there's 98 units standing there.
That's all for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Canuti.
Yeah, I guess I'm still at the same place I was at the last meeting, okay? That you're asking us to give you an approval of a project, increase the density to maximum density, and then asking this board to relinquish any approvals afterwards. Now, I just think that it's a risky move you've got 10 different phases or pods, as you call them. And if I remember you correctly, each one of those could be developed by a different builder. Okay? So there's really no control or continuity over what ultimately may get built there in terms of that. So, I still maintain that we, as a board, as the main planning arm of the city, I maintain that we need to see a site plan prior to approving the building of that. And
Just
for the record,
Commissioner, Board Member Kennedy, like last month, I'm willing to take that as a recommendation, as part of the recommendation, move forward as a condition of approval. So, like last month, I'm more than happy to take that condition with us to the council.
okay, I didn't get that impression last week, but I just wanted to read into the record that what our land development code defines as a planned unit development, a PUD. Excuse me. Means a land area under unified control designed and planned to be developed in a single operation or a series of pre-scheduled development phases according to the officially approved final master land use and site. That's why I'm asking that we do that.
And that's totally acceptable. We haven't changed our position since last month. We will take that as a condition, as a condition of approval and take it forward. We are more than happy to take that.
Okay.
Ms. James?
Just one more question, I'm sorry. Back to the original, the 98 units that are existing, that 50% are owned by one investor. And then the development of the 10 pods or whatever, I'm not exactly sure how you're going to set that up. Will there be one management company or will there be several management company? And my second question is the HOA or I think you said we were going to have a homeowners association or whatever.
Yep.
And if that's the case and you have one investor with 50% of the units, he's going to control the HOA.
If you're talking about the existing 98,
right?
Again, those were sold, and that isn't within the purview of what we're making the changes to with respect to the apartments on the remainder of the pods.
Okay.
I indicated last month that there would be a master association. Home builder takes up the whole development. Then there's going to be one association, and it'll be under control of one organization, master association, down to whomever buys pods. If there's 3 developers and they do 3 or 4 pods each, there'll be 3 sub-associations under the master. That's typically how it filters down.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the 98 in the corner are outside the purview of that,
Okay.
but we would all have to work in relation because we'd be sharing roadways, and they would have their access points, and we have our private access points. So that would be the one element that we would have to work with, sort of specialized, versus the 10 that are under the one purview.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, good.
Okay. Thank you. Public comments? None? Ms. Mahoney? Go ahead.
Laura Mahoney, 2120 Broadway. The question that you have about is West Palm Beach or Riviera Beach. I think there is a code already in the books that you have to refer anything that is in Riviera Beach to be Riviera Beach, no West Palm Beach, no Palm Beach Gardens. The other thing that I would like to bring is what Mr.
McCoy.
I'm sorry, yes. You wrote something about what happened in Thousand Oaks, Bella Rosa, Sonoma Bay. They have Section 8, people were coming here complaining. I would like to ask the developer or the planners here, are they going to have any security the management that's going to be able to take over, they're going to be able to be sufficient, because we have to take that police department in the different developers like Thousand Oaks, Bella Rosa, Sonoma Bay, because it was super dangerous. And they're going to have their own security, and they're not going to be using the police department from the city. The other thing that I heard is about 3 developers. You mean there are 3 developers in the plan, or there's only one? Or who's a master developer? The other thing that I would like to discuss is about the city. When you say West Palm Beach, Woodbine, they said that they're in Riviera Beach, but when you have the mailing address, it says Palm Beach Gardens. So you need to make sure there is Riviera, no another city. I think there is something about the post office, and also how many people live in certain areas, so they receive certain amount of money for whatever thing coming from the state. So this is the 3 issues I would like to discuss about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you address that, please, security?
Jeff Gagnon, Planning Zoning Administrator. I think one of the major differences between some of the previous developments in the community and this is the fact that there will be a management system in place where there is one entity that's responsible for management of these units. So the major difference is having private ownership of units where, as Board Member McCoy mentioned previously, where it can be purchased and leased out, and there's really less control over who's coming and going, which also plays into security concerns. So that will be addressed by having master management, we call it, for this development. As far as security, also it plays into the master management as well, where if you have any sort of business venture wants to protect their investment, so I'm sure it'll be a priority for them.
Yes, sir? You're about to say something?
Yeah, security would be private, be handled by the master association, by the master developer. With respect to the number of developers, that's the flexibility that's built into the plan. It could be one developer who does all 10 pods, or they could be 2 different developers who do the pods. It depends on, that's the flexibility built into the plan that we would like to bring forward. And based on the fact that it's listed in Palm Beach County, it's in a Riviera Beach zip code, we'll work out and we'll understand if it's going to be a Riviera Beach address. I was under the impression that this is Riviera Beach Incorporated. That's why we're in front of this board, the city of Riviera Beach.
Yeah, but so it definitely is in Riviera Beach. We have a specific zoning code that actually talks about advertising for any sort of business entity within Riviera Beach. This was briefly discussed last meeting, but oftentimes, as we know and have discussed previously, the postal code somehow on Google Maps or other search engines states West Palm Beach versus Riviera Beach. So we're very aware of this issue, and we'll definitely make sure that staff continuously expresses to multiple stakeholders in the community how important it is to have that Riviera Beach acknowledged as the true location.
Ms. Brooks, I just want to go on the record to say that I'm not totally opposed to Section 8. I don't want anybody to leave thinking that that's what I'm opposed to. It's just that, unfortunately, it's just 1 or 2 bad tenants that give everybody a bad name. So I just don't want you to leave thinking that I'm opposed to Section 8 tenants. Okay.
Other comments from the board?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'll defer to this. Well, and this is for the developer. I'm just curious, what is the relatively, a ballpark range on what the market rate rent will be, being that these are luxury 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments? Because there's some immediately to the north and as well as to the west. And I want to, kind of see the disparity. If
I have a similar project that has a range of approximately $950 to $1,300 a month from 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom. It's about it averages up to about $1.17 a square foot. That's kind of the market rate. That's what it seems to be holding right now. That's based on luxury finishes, like high-end construction, high-end finishes, security, common area maintenance. So, this comprehensive development, you can be in the range from $950 to $1,350. You can't hold me to that number, but that's kind of the market right now. And I just got a project approved, and that's the exact range, and it's the exact same kind of project.
And the reason I'm asking, I'm just wondering if this will actually fit in, because, I mean, you're saying luxury. I mean, what standards you mean luxury? Because, and I just want to make, and the reason I'm asking these questions, and I'll actually go ahead and say my next comment, and you can probably better address it. At least those existing 50 individual property owners are already there. What also happened that this project being built directly affects their property taxes. Because imagine if those places go up, and for whatever reason, and God forbid, I don't want to think the worst out of a project or anything for that matter, the market doesn't support it, and there's, I guess, a couple hundred vacancies, then, I mean, that in essence could reduce the value of their property, or in other ways it also can increase the value of their property. And if a person has allocated amount that they expect to pay on property taxes every year, then I just want to make sure that the people that in that community are aware of what's going on, because this affects them substantially.
Yeah, and for the record again, Donaldson here. Let me answer your questions in a couple of different ways. First, when we talk about luxury apartments in the industry, we're really talking about the level of finish. The apartments will be market rate, and when we talk about level of finish, we're generally talking, solid surface flooring, whether that's a simulated wood, or whether it's tile, or whether you also would have carpet, generally dealing with stainless steel appliances. Today, when you're building these multifamily projects at one time, and you have the power of purchasing, you can purchase granite countertops, which are far more durable in terms of a life cycle of a project, as well as higher quality appliances. And that's what we, of course, architectural quality is also a part of that flavor. So when we say luxury apartments in the marketplace, those are what we call market rate apartments. These are not subsidized apartments by any federal subsidies, nor are they're basically utilizing any sort of low-income programs for qualifying. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we're not looking at trying to outbuild the marketplace, because ultimately the rents will be what the marketplace will bear, which is you've got Woodbine right across the street. Us being brand new, probably could get a few more pennies to the dollar. We will have security. There's a guard gate there. So that's kind of the first question to kind of answer. What is our luxury or market rate apartments? We also are anticipating a diversity of unit types: 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. Some of the units will actually be able to have an interior garage. If you want to lease a garage, we'll also have likely some detached garages as well. And then, of course, with the amenities that are provided in terms of clubhouse, generally, some sort of a small internet business center, cyber cafe, those types of the types of things that we see in the marketplace today as being what the consumer is demanding. That's the competition that we're dealing with in the marketplace. As far as when they would get built, first, generally this type of project is financed by institutional financing. That is very difficult to obtain and requires a significant amount of market demand, market research that has to be provided up front. And those particular lenders are very careful before they give you their money to make sure the demand is there. We would see these being built As Brian pointed out, probably on a pod or 2 pods at a time, as opposed to somebody coming in and trying to build all the units and leasing them out all at one time. So you have really the ability to be incremental and thoughtful and deliberate when you're trying to bring product to market into delivery, which perhaps answers some of your question in terms of absorption. They're not going to move forward if the absorption isn't there. Generally, you typically look at about a 12-month lease-up period to get yourself up to about 80 to 90% occupancy or stability. And if there isn't that ability in the marketplace, and we believe that there is today, because so many people have been displaced because of foreclosures, and they can't get financing to own, and so we think that the opportunity is out there and the need is out there for this particular type of product. Even hopefully some people that are up north that might be displaced might come down and enjoy sunny Riviera Beach. And so we think that will prop up property values, and certainly that is one of the benefits of this particular type of product in the marketplaces, that because it's owned by a developer, at least by a developer, there's no homestead, so the city gets the benefit of all that ad valorem taxes, which is one of the benefits that will come to the city. In the existing condition, townhouses are very difficult to sell. The price is greatly depressed in there, and I think that the market price then was set by that investor who went in and bought the bulk sales, and there haven't been any or very many other sales above that. So we feel very strongly that we'll be able to come in and we will actually be propping up the marketplace, adding to the landscaping, adding to the amenities, adding to the green spaces, as Mr. Check has pointed out, providing additional walkways and areas that really help create a sense of place. And as I think as Brian pointed out really quite well, the developer here has a lot of parcels that he's got to continue to sell. And the last thing that he wants to do is to build the first one or the second one and not do it the proper way, in such that you would devalue and somehow adversely impact the value of the remaining parcels that you have to sell. I would also say is that by going this way, there is, and I kind of pointed out to the one gentleman who wanted to see these parcels come back in the future, there is the possibility that as we proceed down the way, that different types of housing might come back before you. This is obviously the maximum that you would see on this property, but there is the possibility that as we move forward, that there'll be, and markets change and markets shift, that there could be other type of rental product or other type of product that could come in throughout the course of time. So it's a very seasoned developer wanting to maintain the value of the property, and so we can assure you that our interests are aligned with those of the cities and the desire to deliver something that is sustainable and will maintain long-term values.
Nothing further.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, a question for staff. In the resolution, you're saying that you're asking for approval, residential plan unit development site plan. We really don't have a site plan here. What you're asking for is an increase in density.
No, there's both. There's a master plan and a site plan, and you're right, there is an increase in density.
Well, the applicant has agreed that they will bring the site plan for each pod as they come available for the work.
That's correct, but there's a master plan that is a site plan that exists. So we're both right. There's both things. There's a site plan per pod, and there's a master site plan.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I motion that we move forward and we accept these with the conditions of having the site plan per part and have that come back before P&Z.
Can I suggest some wording on it? I wrote it down.
In fact, I withdraw. Go right ahead.
Mr. Goodwin.
Sorry. I move that we approve the resolution for the amendment to the Mediterranean PUD with staff conditions and with the added condition that the site plan for each phase or pod is brought before P&Z for planning and zoning for approval.
Is there a second?
A second.
Would you poll the board, please?
Edward Mooney,
Yes.
Renee James,
Yes.
Michelle Bruce,
Yes.
Frederick McCoy,
Yes.
Ari Davis,
Yes.
unanimous voting, motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
We'll see you again.
See you 10 more times. Hopefully.
Okay, next we have new business, none. However, general discussion, Mr. Ward. I'm sorry, Jeff, did you? Okay.
He was hoping to cut us out. Carol Ward, 31 West 20th Street. Couple of comments. Meeting minutes. We were very successful in getting the CRA board to hire a court reporter. So there has not been a controversy for almost the entire year. The city has now gone to a voice recognition type of software and produced minutes, which I suggest that we really should have had the city clerk responsible for minutes versus the P&Z, but go back in history 4 decades, and we had a secretary who actually did the minutes for the board, and it's followed on where now we have staff trying to do minutes, but voice recognition is the way to go. Donation boxes. I thought you made some good comments last meeting, and apparently it fell through the CDEC cracks as often, and I hope you would reiterate that, because I drove out of McDonald's the other day and saw one, and it'll be a proliferation of these boxes. Number 3, tomorrow the Planning Commission of the Palm Beach County takes up the Palm Beach Port Master Plan update at 9 o'clock over on their Vista Center, and trying to eliminate the State Road 710 reconnection. I know the city CDEC has just avoided this issue, but they are coming back. The port has hired a consultant for $57,000 to come get the rezoning and the land use for that parcel that was a road right-of-way. Membership deficiencies. I think each one of you need, when you've heard the urgency that's coming forward next year. Mrs. Jones did bring it up at the last city council meeting that P&Z was down. You're down 3. You need some members. You need to chum up some members. Find somebody for ZBA also. Last week we lost another Waterfront Advisory Board member. They're down to 4. They have to have everybody report in order to have a meeting. P&Z meetings for obviously the 30 January meeting that was discussed last night for you as a workshop got changed to a CRA meeting instead of you running it. It would have been better for you to run it because you're the ultimate control versus CRA. And TV needs to be done like they suggested. Tomorrow, or actually Monday, special meeting of the City Council. As you walk out tonight, look at the notice. Matters of concern to the City Council. That's the worst notice I've ever seen in my life. But there is an agenda, and it's for this movement of the fire department, the public works department, the police department, down to the middle of the west side of the industrial area. So I suggest you all get the agenda and read it. I think Mrs. Ryan may have thrown a wrench in the process today or yesterday, but But it is very important, and it should be, to planning and zoning and CDEC before it has any purchase ability. Ms. Ryan agrees with that it has to have comprehensive plan review before it could proceed. We may buy a piece of property for almost $8 million in lost money.
Thank you. Mr. Gagnon, do you have anything?
I guess in response to Mr. Ward's comments, I'll look into the potential for voice recognition software. As far as update for the donation box, I was going to speak to that. It is towards the end of the agenda, but during the actual projects update, but I'll just speak to it now. Immediately following the P&Z meeting, I had reached out to our code enforcement administrator and to establish that communication to see what our code enforcement officers are seeing as an impact in the community. And there's been discussion whether or not additional codes or language are needed, or if this existing language that's already in place could be used to, I guess, thwart some of this additional donation boxes. As it is right now, I think that the manner in which they're placed on site, so either within landscape areas, which are supposed to be maintained as just landscape areas, or within parking spaces, which are supposed to be preserved as only parking spaces. We have areas of the code that already would basically prohibit those boxes from being there. So we're openly working with code enforcement on that. So I believe there's also at least one council member that I know of that's well aware of that topic and is also behind staff on whatever needs to happen in order to prevent that from occurring in the city. In regards to the January 30th meeting that's been discussed, it sounded how Mr. Evans was explaining that was just going to be an open workshop discussion for all boards, all citizens, and it wouldn't be going around P&Z in any way, shape, form. But historically, I've seen that having that one uniform workshop, or I guess you want to call it the grand unveiling of the plan, seems to work best. Also, it seems like it would be televised, there'd be adequate time for comments prior to that meeting. As I get more information on that date, I'll definitely provide it to you. As of right now, there is nothing for that meeting that I've seen, so we're discussing a meeting date with no projects that I've seen yet. So that was my response to those comments.
Will you be speaking to Mr. Evans about the that directors committee meeting that I asked to be that all of us be invited to?
Yeah, I know the CRA does have contact emails for all board members. But, what I'll do is I'll ask him to forward that information to me, and I can act as an intermediary between CRA and this board and provide you with that information as they have those meetings.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Question about the donation boxes. So, as far as right now, you said you've spoken with code enforcement to see if there are, regulations already on the record that would prohibit it.
What I had done was let me go back. So I already know that there are certain code sections that would assist staff in prohibiting that use, such as the landscaping and parking codes that I referenced before. My initial reach out to code enforcement was to basically communicate that the Planning and Zoning Board was discussing this issue, it's a regional issue, and to really ask how our code enforcement administrator saw that impact the community currently and in the future. So basically try to get some info back from her to see what the current impacts really are and how immediate the situation is.
Okay. So at what point do the staff or maybe the director of community development does decide that this is something that we need to actually regulate, because I don't want to see one at every convenience store, every gas station that I pull up to, because even since our last meeting, I think I've seen a couple more pop up. So,
I think it's something that we all agree needs to be regulated, but the question now is, do we use existing codes to prohibit this, or do we need to go beyond that and create additional language? So I think that there are existing codes that code enforcement can use to prohibit these from occurring throughout the city.
well, I'm sure there's going to be some research and time in planning it, but I would think that if we go with specific regulations that speak to just those things, and not necessarily, I'm sure that the existing, you said parking lot and landscape regulations already address those issues, but I think if we did something that at least regulated the number of them in the city, if we do decide to have them, the number of them in the actual locations, then whether they should be there all together, I think that's all encompassing. So I just want to, also say that as well. So, thank you.
But actually, they could be removed now, right?
Yes, I think that there are existing code sections that code enforcement can use to cite either property owner or potentially tag the structure, remove it, that sort of thing.
So, are you going to do that?
What?
Am I going to do
that? You're going to move forward with it?
Am I personally?
No, just kidding. Are you? Will code enforcement move forward with tagging them, or now?
I believe that's
is that the plan?
I think that they're looking to develop a more internal standard operating procedure. Like I said previously, there's one specific council member that's well aware of this as a regional issue and also in the community. So it's definitely a talking point that will be worked through.
I think I know we're just talking about these donation boxes ad nauseum, but I don't understand if it's already illegal. Why wait?
I totally agree.
Okay.
I use speeding as a random example. The speed limit's posted, so it turns into enforcement after that if someone's speeding. So people are probably well aware that they're not allowed to do it, but they also realize that even code enforcement has to follow specific procedures, which in some cases can be lengthy. So people are very intelligent and crafty, and unfortunately sometimes people use processes to their advantage.
I think we should actually have a arm in enforcement too, so we can actually have staff to send them a letter, and then that'll just be the end of it, and the fines will start rolling in.
Well, what I've heard previously, it's difficult to figure out who to send the letter to. You could send it directly to the property owner. That would typically be what code enforcement does. But as far as actually citing the owner of the box itself, that becomes more difficult. It's not the same as, let's say, it's a vehicle, it's abandoned, it has a license plate or something.
Even as it stands now, technically, that box in itself is operating as a business. That box, just sitting there should be a registered business for the city, because they're actually receiving goods, which they're in turn turning a profit on. So that's not licensed. So I don't want to tell you how to continue doing this, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I think we should at least be vigilant in our efforts, because one or two, but now it's like everywhere I turn, and since I brought it up in the meeting, it's like I'm seeing it everywhere now. So
it's I don't want to call it a curse, but since you mentioned it too, now I can't not see them. So
okay. Thank you. I'm nothing further.
So we'll have it on the agenda next month. Any other questions? Motion to adjourn, anyone?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor? Second. Second. That's great. Thanks. These are open here.
Put this on the board of anticipating and walk
Excuse me,
up
I'm
my
sorry.
jacket. Just can't wait.
I just like that.
It was a good meeting.
Happy holidays.